Hello, mountain bikers of the world.
My name is Jeff.
If you didn't know, I'm the founder of Worldwide Cyclery. I started the business almost 13 years ago, which is crazy to say. Over the years, I've made a lot of these Ask Jeff Anything videos where I try and ask the best questions you guys give me relating to the bike industry, our business, mountain bike related things that I do or we do, and it's hopefully useful and valuable to you guys and insightful and interesting. So let's get right into it.
All right, baby cakes. And what question you have to steal today? Did you have a question? My name is Jeff.
First question. With all the bikes you guys build and ride, do you use any protection film on the frame? If so, what brands do you recommend? Yes, we do. We usually use Ride Wrap. I think Ride Wrap is amazing and a fantastic product, albeit extremely hard to install. I don't personally use it on my own bikes because I kind of just like to raw dog it.
Bada bop boom pow.
Can I have your HBO Max login details, please, to see if it will work in Australia, purely for research purposes? Recently on the MTB podcast, I, for whatever reason, said I would give anyone my HBO Max login details because the Mountain Bike World Cups are going to be on Max streaming network this year. I'm not exactly sure why I said that. I've just realized after the fact that you can only have so many user accounts and then same devices can't be logged in at different times. So, sorry, mate. Can't give you the details. Shouldn't have said that.
Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
How has Worldwide Cyclery fared during the bike industry bust of 2023? So the last one of these videos I made was almost exactly a year ago, and there was a lot of speculation and a question about speculating the bike industry was going into really bad times in 2023. And I said, yes, I agree. I think that's going to happen. And yes, it did happen.
Wow.
The bike industry definitely hit some seriously rough waters in 2023, which, you know, looking back on it, hindsight is 2020, but of course it was kind of predictable because the participation in the sport and the sort of consumer behavior towards the sport and purchasing in the sport went absolutely through the roof for probably almost 2 years there during those sort of peak pandemic years, we can call them. Everybody loved mountain biking. They wanted to get into it. They wanted to do it more. They wanted to buy more things and upgrade their bike, and it was just a massive gangbuster boom for the whole industry. And it all kind of came crashing down, and 2023 was the reckoning year, you could say. A lot of the brands in the industry and the retailers in the industry and the distributors in the industry all had way too much inventory because they'd kind of over forecasted, and 2023 was a super rough year for the whole industry. The participation in the sport pretty much dropped off a lot. If you use Google Trends, you can actually see the search volume of various different search trends, which is a very helpful tool, so you can look at it over, 10 plus years time, and people searching for things such as mountain bikes or bike shop or mountain bike trails near me, or things like SRAM access or RockShox Pike. All of those terms are kind of at all-time lows right now, like 10 plus, 15 year plus lows in this off season, because people's interest in the sport just really waned because they kind of overindulged during those peak pandemic years, and it's made the industry feel a lot of turmoil 2023, and this year too, 2024, I think it's going to be pretty much the same. Worldwide Cyclery did fine. We are actually 10% above 2019.
Okay, let's go.
Which is what I'm paying the most attention to, because I think 2019 is a good sort of baseline year to look at and compare to because it's a pre-pandemic year. I think we have to kind of write off those 2020, 21, and 22 as abnormal anomaly years that we should be very grateful even ever happened. So 2023, we did better than 2019, which I'm grateful for. No, of course, we did not beat 2022. Nobody did, not even close. Albeit, our business, we've evolved it a lot, right? We're not just Worldwide Cyclery anymore. What started as kind of these small projects being Kettle Mountain Apparel and Trail One Components, which we spun up both roughly around 2 to 5 years ago, depending on which brand. Those have become significant parts of our business, and Kettle in 2023 shipped out 30,000 orders, which is amazing. It's scaling like crazy, making some great mountain bike specific pieces, but a whole ton of sort of adventure travel apparel. And Trail One, bunch of mountain bike components. So those two brands have been huge wins for us in terms of growing and scaling those and owning those outright and being vertically integrated, as opposed to Worldwide Cyclery, which is just a retail business. So
Investors? Possibly you!
Our business has grown a lot and changed over the years, and the reason those two brands exist is because not only did we really want to do them, but we also realized that the sort of business model of bicycle retail is kind of past its heyday at this point. I think it was past its heyday in a brick and mortar sense quite some time ago, and now it's probably past its heyday in the online e-commerce sense. So yeah, we're all good, everything's fine, but I largely equate the credit towards Kettle Mountain Apparel and Trail One Components, because those two things have been a huge win for us and how we've evolved our business over the years and continue to stay relevant and do good things. But yeah, we're all good, and I appreciate it. And if you bought from us in 2023, thank you. If you bought from us from ever, thank you. When is the next adventure race, and would you consider documenting some of it on video for us? I got into adventure racing a couple years ago and kind of fell in love with it. I think it's this amazing way to really truly show like a hardcore outdoor sport in all of its essence. You kayak, you trail run, you hike, you do all the navigation with map and compass, and you do a ton of mountain biking as well. So I enjoy all of those things, and I really liked that sport and have gotten more into it and did a huge one in 2023. It was a 75-hour race in Breckenridge, Colorado, nonstop. And, I think it was over 200 miles and over 30,000 feet of elevation total between all the different sports and stuff.
Fun!
And it was amazing. It's so fun. I'm doing more of them in 2024, and also kind of considering designing my own and kind of branding it as like a Kettle Mountain Adventure Rally, where you drive to get different checkpoints and do multi-sport stuff. So I got some things brewing, but the one that I have on the calendar currently is called Raid the Rockies. It's in June in Canada. It's a 3-day adventure race, but it's a stage race, so you actually get 8 hours to sleep each night, which is kind of cool, and I agree with, because I think sleep deprivation is kind of a stupid, unnecessary risk, but also part of the sport. And would I consider documenting on YouTube? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't really care to do too much of that. I like to just go out and enjoy myself, but I'll consider it.
Cool beans!
Not too long ago, Jeff mentioned that he probably will never transition to carbon rims. That one didn't age well. Are there any current trends in the industry that Jeff and WC don't fully support or agree with? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say that didn't age well. I mean, well, yeah, it didn't age well in the sense that I am using carbon rims now on most of my bikes. So in that sense, yeah, it didn't age well. However, in that video, I kind of explained my reasoning was the current state of carbon rims when I made that video, which was 6 years ago, just weren't reliable enough. And not having reliable rims, I just couldn't agree with, especially when I would take these long trips or road trips or fly with my bike somewhere. I didn't want to worry about breaking rims. So the reliability has changed dramatically in the past 6 years, hence why I've gone to start riding carbon rims now, because I haven't broken one in ages. People just break them way less. They still break. I still don't think they're as strong as aluminum rims or as reliable, but they're 98% of the way there, and for 98% of people,
60% of the time, it works. Every time.
You're never gonna break one, myself included, nowadays. So yeah, I still ride carbon rims because they've just changed a lot and gotten so much better in the last 6 years since I've made that video. Other trends that I might not agree with that maybe I'll eat some crow on eventually, I don't know, we'll see. I don't think there's anything right now that's an industry trend that I don't totally agree with. There's certain things I don't really care that much about. For example, for me, 150 mil travel dropper post, that's enough. I have no reason to go any more than that. I actually kind of prefer it only going 150 millimeters down.
Don't laugh at that.
Let's see, what else? Electronic drivetrains and electronic droppers? I mean, I can genuinely tell you they work better, and the current modern SRAM transmission is absolutely astonishing with how it rides and everything like that. I personally currently don't use it because I just don't need any more responsibilities in my life, which is a bit more of a personal problem and a philosophical thing. I don't want to be charging batteries and worrying about it and messing with electronics when I go out to ride my bike. I kind of really like that naturally aspirated mechanical machine, and I enjoy that about mountain biking and always have, and I don't want to mix in any more electronics since I spend the majority of my day, like most of us do, looking at a phone and a computer screen for work. So I don't know, maybe I'll eat some crow on that. In 3 years I'll be riding SRAM transmission. I will tell you, if the battery life on that stuff lasted, say, like if the rear derailleur lasted as long as a controller, which is about a year, I would go to it right now. But it only lasts about 5 to 10 rides, and I just don't want to deal with that. So it's all about that battery life. What's Jeff's favorite non-MTB activity lately? I would say trail running. I definitely enjoy trail running. I think it's a big challenge and it's fun. It's physically challenging and it's uncomfortable often, but it's also cool to put in longer trail runs, and 10, 20 mile trail runs can be really challenging and enjoyable to build these like custom routes and see a lot of unique trails that you would never normally ride bikes on. So I definitely like trail running. That's my kind of other hobby that I would do that's not bike related. Does Jeff watch MTB YouTube channels? If yes, which ones? I watch some of Pink Bike and Vital MTB's World Cup downhill race coverage when the season's on and there's races. And I also mostly just watch BKXC. I think his channel's awesome. I've always enjoyed that guy's sort of undying positivity and his attitude. And right now it's less about mountain biking most of the time, because he's actually bought some land and he's building this mountain biker's dream paradise up in the Sierra Nevada mountains in Northern California that he's calling Everstoke. And it's a campground and there's tiny homes and hand-built mountain bike trails, and he's creating this whole sort of off-grid mountain biker's paradise up there and documenting the whole thing, and that's awesome and fun and entertaining to watch. So yeah, BKXC is probably the only other mountain bike channel that I watch, not during the race season. Which Garmin watch does Jeff use? Please make a video about Garmin watches. I've talked about Garmin watches a lot over the years, mostly on the MTB podcast, but I absolutely love them. I got one in early 2020, or maybe it was late 2019, and I've never taken it off my wrist since. They're absolutely incredible. They're such useful and cool devices for tracking your sleep, your health, your workouts, your rides, your runs, your hikes. You can put mapping on them. Like, it's unbelievable how useful and cool and amazing they are. And especially they're relatively affordable, and there's a lot of different options price point wise, and there's no subscription fee with Garmin watches, which I totally hate and disagree with when it comes to things like Whoop, for example. But having a full-blown GPS watch and physiological tracker on your wrist 24/7 is amazing. I'm currently using the Epix Pro Gen 2. I freaking love this thing. I've gone through a lot of versions in the past. I started out with a Venue, and then I went to a Forerunner, and then I went to a Phoenix, and now I have an Epix. There's a lot of product overlap, but I've tried to merchandise the best, most useful ones on the Worldwide Cyclery site. And Jared actually wrote a really good article about the Forerunner watch, Garmin Forerunner watch being an amazing watch for mountain bikers. So if curious, check that article out. What bike does Jeff use for adventure racing? The Revel Ranger. That thing is amazing. A lot of adventure racing, there's some gnarly-ish trails in there, but there's also some road you have to mix in there and a lot of XC trails, and it's a ton of distance. And having the Revel Ranger, which is 120 mil travel on the front, 115 in the back, 29-inch wheels, incredible bike. I love that thing. It is so versatile, and it's just a weapon of speed, and it's perfect for adventure racing. Wouldn't you say the best Cheez It in the box is the burnt ones? I 100% agree with that statement. I love Cheez Its, and I definitely prefer the burnt ones. Could a bike shop exist if repairs and maintenance income was greater than 50% of their revenue? What percentage of the average bike shop income comes from repairs and maintenance, and do bike shops deserve a better markup/margin from manufacturers? I know that's a 3-in-1. Thanks, WC.
Ah, boy, here we go.
So first question, could they exist if their income is greater than 50% on just repairs? Yeah, absolutely. Actually, for most brick and mortar bike shops, their highest margin activities and most profitable things they do is repair and maintenance. So 100%. There's actually quite a few newer shops that are around that are brick and mortar stores that just straight up only do maintenance. They don't really even sell bikes. That's a fantastic model. It's a lot more profitable than selling bikes, because to your third question, do bike shops deserve better margins? Yeah, that's a whole separate video, but yes, and because they don't have the good margins, it makes it really sort of not a profitable activity for bike shops to be selling components and bikes and things like that most of the time, where it's kind of almost 99% of the time profitable to do repair and service work. And average bike shop percentage of income and repairs, maintenance versus selling bikes and components, that's totally different depending on the shop. So certain shops, like I mentioned, are exclusively repairs and maintenance. Some shops almost do barely any of it, and it's like everywhere in between. So it totally depends on the shops. There's no consistency there in the industry per se. Is it better to have 2 bikes, downcountry and enduro, or 1 all-mountain bike? Is it better to be used to 1 than bounce back and forth? I mean, I personally prefer having, sort of the downcountry light trail bike and an enduro bike. I think that's kind of a convenient way to do it, because most of the time the riding that I'm doing is XC trail general mountain biking, and something like the Revel Ranger works incredible for that. And then on occasion I'll go ride some gnarlier, rockier stuff, or I'll take these trips and do more enduro type riding on these mountain bike trips, and then it's really nice to have an enduro bike. So I like to have 2 bikes, but I think in a perfect world, you have 5 bikes for various different occasions and types of ridings, but obviously that's not financially feasible for most people. So my preference is 2. Up to you and your budget really is what matters there. Will you guys ever sell Intend suspension? I built up a Banshee Titan, which is an epic enduro bike that I've absolutely loved, and I had Intend suspension on it, and I made a whole video about that bike build and talked quite a bit about that suspension. Will we ever sell Intend? Yes, we intend to. Pun intended. However, Intend is a small-ish, sort of boutique European suspension company, and it's not that easy for us to import that product and merchandise it when it comes to sizes and customization and blah, 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 all these different things. So yeah, we'll get there. We're working on it. We're in touch with those guys, and we love the products they make, albeit not the best time in the industry for us to be throwing money at new suspension brands that are really cumbersome to import into the US, but we'll get there for sure because that's an amazing brand and I would love to represent them and be a retailer for them in the US. What crank length do you ride? 170 on pretty much all the bikes. I'm not opposed to 165. Actually, I think I do have 165s on my enduro bike right now, that Banshee that I just mentioned, and I'm not like super picky. I would never run 175. I just think it's too long, and with how low bikes are, you're gonna smash your feet everywhere. So pretty much 170 or 165 is where I'm always gonna land on crank length for mountain bikes. What is it about SRAM that everyone likes so much? I always just go XT on my bikes. Works for me, but am I missing out on something? I personally prefer SRAM drivetrains. I like their shifter design a lot better and just the overall system that they have. And now it's, you can't even really consider Shimano as even remotely competitive to SRAM when you're talking, 12-speed drivetrains, because transmission is this whole different ball game of shifting under load like you wouldn't believe, barely even feeling when the chain moves, the whole no derailleur hanger thing, how quiet it is because the derailleur doesn't have a backswing and larger pulley wheels. I mean, it's in a league of its own above Shimano right now. However, if that's not your price point, then when you're comparing, when you get kind of the mid-range and lower, SRAM and Shimano are very competitive neck and neck to each other. Above that, SRAM kind of takes the cake. I personally prefer SRAM for a number of reasons, but
I'm going to be brutally honest with you here, Mike.
one of the main ones, which doesn't actually have to do with the performance of the drivetrain system, is just that SRAM supports the industry in a lot better way than Shimano does, and I really respect and appreciate that. And these days in my life, I like to put my money towards brands that are respectful to the industry they're in, to the environment they're in, and to the people that they deal with, whether that's their customers, as in riders or retailers or distributors. And I just really appreciate SRAM's business ethics, and I can't really say the same for Shimano. So that's kind of my preference there and why.
Boom. Roasted.
Least but not last, should I weld a kid seat on my steel bars for my 2-year-old? I'm 100% not going to advise that.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
But thanks for the question. That's it. That's all. Thank you very much. If you've made it this far, I genuinely appreciate it. Feel free to drop a comment below if you have any questions you want me to answer in a future video. I only did one of these in 2023 because I just had other things going on, but maybe I'll try and squeak out a few more in 2024. But if you want to hear a lot more of my take on various industry things or answering questions like this, the MTB podcast is the place to go. Myself, Jared, and Liam, and occasionally Trevor, we answer all sorts of listener questions. That's what we do on the whole latter half of the podcast for an entire half an hour, and it's super useful and valuable to mountain bikers, and that's our intention with that podcast, and it's grown a ton over the years. So check out the MTB podcast if you haven't heard it, and that's it. That's all. Thank you. See you later.